This is a tutorial video for flashing two LEDs with your Mintronics pack using the outlet Flexi.on. You will need a 9-volt battery snap, a 1K ohm resistor, two 100 ohm resistors, two LEDs, a 7805 voltage regulator, a 555 timer chip, a 25 volt electrolytic capacitor, mini breadboard, wire, and an outlet Flexi.on. Place the 555 timer chip onto the right side of the breadboard so that the chip forms a bridge between the two sides of the breadboard. Make sure that pin 1, indicated by the small circle on top of the chip, goes into the fourth hole from the right edge of the breadboard. Add the voltage regulator to the first pinhole in the third row of the bottom section of the breadboard, so that the non-flat side of the voltage regulator is facing the larger part of the breadboard. Cut a 2-inch piece of wire and strip both ends. Place this wire so that it goes in a pinhole just below pin 6 and then to the pinhole just above pin 2 of the 555 timer chip. Take a 1K ohm resistor, identified by the color bands brown, black, red, and gold, in that order, and cut off some of the resistor wire to make the legs shorter for easier insertion into the breadboard. Place the resistor between the pinholes just below pin 8 and 7 of the 555 chip. It doesn't matter which orientation the resistor is placed, since resistors are reversible. Notice that the 25 volt electrolytic capacitor has a white stripe aligned with one of its legs. This white stripe signifies the negative side of the capacitor. Place the capacitor so that the negative leg is in the fourth pinhole of the first row of the upper right side of the breadboard, so that it is aligned in the same column as pin 1 of the 555 timer chip. The second leg should be aligned with pin 2 of the 555 timer chip. Take the battery snap and place the red wire into a pinhole below the rightmost pin of the voltage regulator. Now place the black wire into a pinhole just below the middle pin of the voltage regulator. Next, take a wire about 2 inches long and place it in the pinhole just above the leftmost pin of the voltage regulator. Connect the other end of this wire to a pinhole just below the 8th pin of the 555 timer chip. Take another wire and cut about 2.5 inches. You can use a different color to distinguish it from the other wires on the breadboard. Connect this wire from a pinhole that's just above the middle pin of the voltage regulator to a pinhole that's just above the first pin of the 555 chip. Next, bend the legs of a 100 ohm resistor, identified by the color bands brown, black, brown, and gold, and place one leg in a pinhole just above pin 3 of the 555 chip and the other leg in the second pinhole of the third row of the upper right side of the breadboard. Take one of the LEDs and notice that the LED has one longer leg than the other. The long leg is positive and the short leg is negative. Place the LED on the breadboard so that the shorter leg is in a pinhole just above pin 1 of the 555 timer chip, and the longer leg is in the second pinhole of the second row of the upper right side of the breadboard. This should be the same column as the resistor that was just placed. Next, bend the legs of the second 100 ohm resistor and place one leg in a pinhole just above pin 3 of the 555 chip and the other leg in the 9th pinhole of the third row of the upper right side of the breadboard. Take the second LED and place it on the breadboard so that the shorter leg is in the 9th pinhole of the second row of the upper right side of the breadboard, the same column as the second leg of the resistor that was just placed. Place the longer leg in the 11th pinhole of the second row of the upper right side of the breadboard. Now take a 2.5-inch wire and connect one end to the 11th pinhole of the 4th row of the upper right side of the breadboard. Connect the other end of the wire to a pinhole just above the leftmost pin of the voltage regulator. Now take a fully assembled outlet Flexi.on and connect one of the wires into a pinhole just below pin 7 of the 555 timer chip. Take the remaining wire and connect it to a pinhole just below pin 6. The outlet Flexi.on is reversible. Snap in your 9-volt battery and have fun. To speed up the LED blink rate, you may switch out the 25-volt electrolytic capacitor with a 10 microfarad ceramic capacitor, marked with a 106.